Hello and welcome to CyNam's first ever episode of our community catch-up. I'm Daisy North, CyNam's marketing executive apprentice. One thing I love to do whilst working is listening to podcasts, so I thought this is a really good opportunity for us to provide something for our community to listen to whilst they're working. So I'm joined today by Richard Yorke, our MD of CyNam. So hello,
Hi, Daisy.
Rich.
Hi, thanks for inviting me on the show.
That's okay, how are you?
I'm okay, thanks. Yeah, not bad. Out of 10, I would say I'm 9, I think. It's lovely and sunny outside. We had a great bunch of events last week that have been really well received by the community, and I had some good fun down at Dare over the weekend as well. So yes, I'm a firm 9.
So when Rich says he's out of 10, so one thing that we do every week on our team huddle is we ask everyone what they are out of 10. So that's a common theme that will be running through these podcasts. I will ask each guest how they are out of 10. So today's episode, we're going to be focusing around what CyNam is in theory and just sort of an introduction into the ecosystem and what we are all about here at CyNam. So, Rich, yes. What is CyNam?
What is CyNam? So we're a cyber cluster, and I'll come on to what a cyber cluster is shortly. But essentially, we're an organisation, a not-for-profit organisation. That's an important thing to state. And our focus is all about growing and developing the ecosystem, or developing the cluster. And that cluster is made up of businesses, particularly tech businesses, cybersecurity businesses, but then also the professional services companies, for example, that support the growth of those businesses. And then also within the ecosystem, we have academia, so universities, schools, education, and of course the public sector as well. So a cluster is a concentration of organisations like that in a particular geographical area or with a particular speciality. And our geographical area is Cheltenham and Gloucestershire that we represent, and the speciality is cyber and technology.
Okay, so you said that in this area. So what do you mean by that? Is there other clusters? And what does that actually mean?
Yes, there are other clusters. There's many clusters across the UK, across different areas of technology, but specifically around cyber and cybersecurity, there are, I think we're up to about 13 formally recognised clusters covering Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, the North West, the North East, Yorkshire, Swindon and Wiltshire, Bristol and Bath, the South West, East of England, and Surrey. And of course, we mustn't forget our nearest and dearest friends from Midlands Cyber as well. So although they're called Midlands Cyber, they're based around the West Midlands, so they're sort of centred in Malvern in Worcestershire, but extend through into sort of Birmingham in that neck of the woods. I think that's all 13. There are other clusters that are emerging at the moment that are in the process of.
Cool. So they, if I understand rightly, they all fall under the category of UKC3.
That's right, yes.
And weren't you the old chair?
I was the old chair, yes, the inaugural chair and one of the co-founders of UKC3. So it's a national body that we set up approximately 2 years ago now, and the purpose of that body was to be able to support the cyber clusters that are in operation across the UK, and we were able to secure funding from what was then the Department for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport. Now that part of the department is under the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology, and they fund the clusters, enable them to have dedicated resource so that they can go out and engage the cyber community and the companies within their region.
Perfect. So now we've got a bit of background about all the cyber clusters, I suppose, around the region. So we've understood how, I suppose, the clusters came about, but focusing on CyNam particularly, how did CyNam start and how long have we been going for?
So we've been going since about 2016. It was a meetup group that we inherited that was focused in Cheltenham, focused around tech and cyber, and it had about 30 to 40 people, would meet up once every quarter in a bar somewhere in town. And the guy that had been running that for a number of years had decided to hand it on to somebody else to take on. And it was Chris Dunning-Walton, who, those of you listening to the podcast, I think you'll know Chris, most of you. It was him, myself, Rob Stemp, and some other folk, Paul Bentham. I'm missing a couple, and I apologise to them if they are listening. But there's about 6 of us, all of which were involved in the cyber and technology sector in some way, and we all kind of had the vision that actually we wanted to kind of do more to galvanise the wider community. So not just the sort of tech specialists, but actually the entrepreneurs, the founders, the wider ecosystem, and provide a platform for, particularly small businesses, not exclusively, to be able to talk about what they were doing, to be able to raise their profile, and then the idea being that would lead to opportunities so they could grow and develop, and the ecosystem could grow, and all the positive things that would come from that. So that was 2016. We started off for the first kind of 3 years really of operation, doing that all on a voluntary basis. So we would run 3 events a year, and then very little activity in between. And it was only until about 2019, 2020 that we then brought Claiborne into the organisation, and we actually started to be able to do activities in between our major events.
Nice. So I suppose the real question is, everyone that sort of attends our events, people that know about CyNam, everyone assumes that we're quite a big organisation. And I suppose that's quite a nice thing, because obviously it shows all of our efforts and stuff going on behind the scenes. But how many people does CyNam
employ?
Yeah.
So we employ 6 people at the moment. We have a board of directors who do that on a voluntary basis as well, and we have 7 board directors, soon to be 8, and we also then have a bunch of people who help us out in events from the community. But the core team, if you like, that are there every day. There's 6 of us, but we're potentially, if we get successful in a bid that we recently submitted, then we would be looking to grow that team by a further 2 or 3 people.
That's very exciting. We're all looking forward to that, and
yes, very much
fingers
so.
crossed. Exciting times ahead. So I suppose, what is the main concept of CyNam? So they're based around our events, I'd say, mainly, and it's bringing together the community.
Exactly. That's it in an essence. We believe very much in the power of collaboration and providing opportunities for people to come together, to network, to share ideas, to form connections, and then from that go and perhaps partner on a piece of work, or collaborate and deliver something, a product, for example, that could really make a difference in the industry. So the heart of what we do is all around events. But whereas back in the day when we first started, we'd have, as I say, 3 headline events with little interaction in between, we now have a programme of events where we're running activities pretty much every month. I mean, it feels like every week at times. And the reason for that is, one, because there's the demand for it. We very quickly fill our events. Tickets become available, and they're always free to attend, which helps. But they go in a matter of hours in some cases. So we've got a very active community, and
it's lovely, isn't it, being able to sort of offer that opportunity for community members to attend, I suppose, interesting content, free of charge. And
yes, and it's at the essence of what we set out to do right at the very start, was that we would always make this accessible to as broad an audience as possible. Because back in the day, back 2015, 2016, the industry was still kind of shrouded in a bit of mystery, and all the imagery was that kind of dark imagery with hackers with hoodies and ones and zeros, and it wasn't particularly kind of inclusive or welcoming to people from outside of the industry. And along with other organisations and other people's efforts as well, I think we've gone some way to changing that. So our events will always be free to attend, because the point is it's there to engage and bring people together.
Exactly. So some of you may be wondering, that are listening, if we're a CIC, so a non-profit organisation, and we're saying that our events are free to attend. And I'm sure most people out there obviously know the cost of everything. So how can we afford to, I suppose, put on these great opportunities for the community, but not charging anything for them?
Yes, it's a good question. So we're a community interest company, and just in terms of what that means, it means, as Daisy says, we're a not-for-profit. We can have commercial activities, but any profit we make from that, we have to then put back into serving the community. And the community in this case is obviously the cyber and tech ecosystem within the region. So the way that we are funded, there's sort of three main strands of funding that come into CyNam. The one that we've had as a revenue stream, if you like, for the longest is sponsorship. And that is in the guise of either tech companies, professional service companies, big and small, that sponsor CyNam, either sponsoring a specific event or in some cases sponsoring a particular initiative or sponsoring CyNam for a year. So we have, I would say, probably about a third of our income is from sponsorship, maybe a little bit less. The other...
Sorry, this would be a great opportunity
yes.
to shout out CyNam sponsors.
Do you know what? Thank you, Daisy. I'm glad you've... yes. So, yeah, we must absolutely shout out sponsors, some of whom have been sponsoring us for years now. And, you know, with all of them, all the companies that have supported us, you know, it wouldn't have been possible for us to do what we do and hopefully have the impact that we're having without their support. So you're absolutely right. I should call each of them out. So our annual sponsors as of today, we have Atkins, who are our strategic partner for 2023. We have Sopra Steria, who have been a long-standing supporter and sponsor as well. We have Glasgow and University of West England, who sponsor us together in partnership. We have an upcoming SME who's rapidly growing called Hamiltonian Dynamics. And we have CACI as well, who have, again, been a long-standing sponsor and supporter of what we do. And then we also have two sponsors that don't sponsor us with funding, but have sponsored us in kind with skills and experience that they can bring. So, for example, Orna supports us with our Cyber Essentials and Cybersecurity Incident Response work. An organisation called CyPro have been sponsoring us around data protection and privacy policies and that kind of thing. So those are our annual sponsors. We then have a whole host of sponsors that have supported us over the course of this year at the various events that we've ran. And that includes InfoSec People, Gemba Advantage, Roke, Harrison Clark Rickabees, Shorevine, Ripjar, CGI, QA, Plexel, IBM, Cybersecurity Associates, BAE Systems, and there'll be many others that I haven't named. So, yeah, we've been very lucky, I guess, generous to have the generous support of our sponsors, and there are opportunities to sponsor us again. We're just about to go into our next financial year, and we'll be also putting out opportunities to sponsor a big upcoming Empower event, which I'm sure we'll come on to either later in this podcast or perhaps in the next one that we do.
Empower, I've got a big passion for Empower. I think it's an amazing event, and like you said, we'll probably touch on it another time, or maybe seeing how time goes. But I suppose one thing that we kind of look for in sponsors and theories is the fact, do they align with our values? And I suppose, yeah, like, what are our values? What does CyNam?
So we have six values, which we like to think embodies how we operate, but also reflects the values of the ecosystem as well. So the first one is community obsessed. So our focus, right down to the fact that we are a community interest company, so we have to be focused on the community, but all of the people in the organisation care about seeing the ecosystem thrive, the people within it thrive, the businesses within it thrive and do well. So that's our first value. The second, and it's kind of linked, I guess, is that love of place. You know, we love Cheltenham, Gloucestershire. It's where all of us live and work, and we've got a real kind of love and affinity for the place, so that we bring that to the work and activities that we do. Again, coming back to this principle of making sure all our events are accessible and inclusive, we make ourselves available to everyone and anyone. So very welcoming, and we're seeing that now with lots more new people coming into the industry. We look to create inspiration. So a lot of the opportunities, we know there's a wealth of talent and capability within the ecosystem, and the opportunities to turn those into high growth companies and products that can really make a difference to the safety and security of the UK. So we seek to create inspiration so those companies can grow and make the most of those opportunities. We do what's needed. I think that's an important thing. So if things need to be done, issues need to be unblocked to be able to help organisations grow and develop. That's what we focus on. And as with all things, we look to have fun whilst doing it. We try to bring our happy selves to work, and that then rubs off on other people and makes for a good working environment.
And I think a key thing about CyNam as well is that all 6 of us, I think every day we make sure we all hit those values. So I think it also comes naturally with our work, is that every day we are applying our values throughout our work, and we really, show that to our community. And I think that's really important. And
it is, and it'd be interesting to get feedback, and please do message us or drop us a line on are you seeing us embody those values? Are there other values that you think as an ecosystem we need to also be promoting and supporting? Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned that there was 3 funding streams. So you've just touched on sponsorship. So what are the other 2, I suppose?
Yeah, the other 2. So one is government funding. So I mentioned earlier about the formation of the UKC3. So as a result of that, there is funding that we can access that comes from the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology. So that is another source of income. And then our largest source of income is 2 commercial contracts that we deliver with partners into our friends at the National Cybersecurity Centre, one of which is the Cyber First Schools programme for the South West, and the other is the NCSC for Startups programme. I think we'll probably do a podcast, wouldn't you say, Daisy, on each of those at some point in the future. So I won't go into detail as to what they are, but if you search for them, I'm sure you'll find information. And we'll do a podcast with maybe some of the companies going through the accelerator programme at some point in the future.
Yes, exciting. We so the NCSC project, suppose we get to meet new companies and embody what we stand for them, so we're supporting them continuously.
Yeah, okay, so the NCSC for Startups programme, as Daisy's alluded to, has a number of startups going through a programme to help accelerate their growth, and the role that CyNam plays is to connect them into the local ecosystem here in Cheltenham and Gloucestershire, and also into national and even international stakeholders. For example, investors, there's an investor forum and an investor engagement events that we put on that helps connect those startups into the investment community. So that's both angel investors and VCs, venture capitalists. And then there's other activities that we might do. So there may be sort of boot camps or events that sort of provide information and knowledge, I guess, on how to grow a business. And also the knowledge exchange around areas of emerging technology, so that companies, not just on the accelerator programme, but in the wider ecosystem, can learn from that and make sure that their capability is taking into account those emerging tech developments.
Okay, so we're slightly running out of time, but if you could just quickly touch upon Cyber First as well, just a brief overview.
Of course.
Of the project.
Yeah, so I'll do a very brief overview. So Cyber First is focused around inspiring the next generation, with a particular focus, but not exclusively, on women and people from different ethnic groups, neurodiverse, so people who are underrepresented within the industry currently. And the idea is that we can put on events and bring in partners from across the industry to go into schools, for example, and run activities that will inspire the kids and get them pursuing a career in computer science and cybersecurity.
Yeah, it's very special, isn't it? The whole initiative, I suppose, of the programme, what it stands for.
It is, and we'll be publishing some data relatively soon. Certainly in the lead up to Empower, which is our big event, focused on this in November.
1,000 schoolgirls.
1,000 Year 8 schoolgirls, exactly. There's some really interesting data to show that not just because of CyNam, but because of the wider Cyber First programme, we've seen a real uptake in computer science, particularly with girls, which is fantastic to hear.
It's brilliant. Okay, well, I think that's everything. We've covered off what CyNam is, and we hope that now you feel slightly more informed of, I suppose, where it started, the size of us, and what we stand for. We'll be looking to get more ideas and, I suppose, episodes out all about the community. So if this is something that your organisation would be interested in, or even yourself, please drop us a line on either info@cynam.org or LinkedIn us.
Would love to hear from you. And if you would like to feature on a future podcast, or if there's particular topics you'd like us to cover, do get in touch. The one thing I would say, Daisy, as well, we've touched on events quite a lot. So we do. We've just had a fantastic week working across 3 events, which we've delivered at the same time as the Cheltenham Science Festival has been going on. So there's been a real buzz around town, and we're looking to do something similar in October when there's the Literature Festival in town, and to run 1 or 2, maybe even 3 CyNam events across that week. So I believe it's the week of the 7th of October, or round about that kind of time. So that's one for the diaries. We'll be putting some comms out on that pretty soon. So do watch this space, because they fill up pretty quick, those events.
Yes, they are. They go out very quickly. So yes, like Rich said, keep an eye on socials and our website as well. There's an events calendar which is updated regularly with all the events and event registrations.
Wonderful. Well, Daisy, thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. It's been good fun, and hope to be on the podcast again soon. And
we look forward to hosting you guys again, and we hope that you choose us to, I suppose, listen to whilst you're working very hard. That's everything.
Thank you. See you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.